where?
Hey, Casey, come on, get to work.
I didn't even see you, John.
I know, I blindsided you. Good, so Big Ten tournament time. I don't know, you know, the last couple of years we've had a great edge about us going into this tournament because of the fact we probably had to win a game or two to be sure we were in. We also had a different situation where we're preparing for 2 teams, not 3 teams. But I think it's the one of the very few good things about our loss last Saturday was I believe it's provided that edge back again, that a team that had a season like we have that goes into a tournament with real goals other than wouldn't it be nice to win the tournament because the NCAA tournament is right around the corner. Now it's something that's really we'd love to go in there and win this. We've won a few in a row now, and wouldn't that be something to go in and win a championship in 3 days? And someone said to me today, is it easier? And I said, are you kidding me? Yeah, I mean, to win 4 in a row is really hard. 3 in a row is like the exact same thing. It all just melts together. It's so hard to do. And we've been working hard. We worked on Northwestern Monday, worked on Illinois yesterday. We're working on Iowa today. And then tomorrow we'll be a little bit more focused on the 2 teams. But it is not as difficult as you think. Having as we proved the last 2 years, having the extra day and all those things doesn't mean as much as people would think. I think, was it Nebraska last year, right? Came in and they got the bye from us, and we were tremendous in that game against Nebraska. So there's a lot of elements in here that to the obvious fan would think, oh, this is a great advantage. There's no advantage at this time of the year at all. There's just, you got to play well, you got to have a good matchup, and you got to play well, and you got to stay out of foul trouble and stay injury free. That's the advantage, and whoever has that will probably be sticking around and playing on Saturday and Sunday. So that's a nice monologue with a lot of things involved, but it comes from 40 years of experience of going to tournaments twice as long before you guys were born.
John, how do you use the loss to Michigan State and not getting that Big Ten regular season championship as a sort of motivating factor going into March to get those other goals?
Yeah, it's a good question. Is that's the edge that you need right now? That we're watching that film was not good on Monday because there was, again, I've told you this before, there was 30 points. 30 points we could have controlled in that game just by a different decision making. I haven't spoken a lot about the loss of Charles, and everybody has losses in the season. But what they did to us with backside action, Charles is the best in the league, I think, at pushing people around to get them in the right position, especially if they're freshmen. And he was not there to do that. And so we've learned a lot from that. And that with whether Charles can play or not, that they've learned how important those aspects are when people go into certain action.
Do you see any similarities to 2013, maybe in the way you guys didn't finish the regular season as you might have wanted, but are hoping to catch fire?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't play that well in that tournament, so I hope there's not. We did it in the NCAA tournament. Remember, Wisconsin took it to us. We beat Penn State. Wisconsin took it to us, I believe, in that game. So, no, I mean, this is all, you know, there's a heartbreak at the end of the season, but then yeah, I've had bigger heartbreaks, and you just move on, and you got something else going right in front of you. And every season is so unique to the other seasons. There's just not the same parallels that you would think there'd be.
Jay? John, you guys have hung 3 banners over the past 2 seasons, including the last 2 Big Ten tournament banners. So when you guys are practicing on the floor and the players look up at your past accomplishments, now that it's that time of year again, is there any need to remind them that, you know, that's almost become the expectation for the classes that have been here?
I don't think, you know, I think the expectation is that we're going to compete for championships. I don't think the expectation is, hey, you're a failure if you don't win a Big Ten championships. Otherwise, there'd be 100 banners up there, right? There'd be a lot of failures. So no, it's an expectation that we're going to hunt for that one. And if we don't do it, then we got to do more the following year. So that's basically what it is. But we're very proud of that. Very proud that we don't have a 4-year player on the team right now. You know, if we're selected at the NCAA tournament, we expect to be, that would be a kid comes to school here and plays in the NCAA tournament for 4 straight years. Right? I don't think that's happened in a long, long time. And that would have been great, but we don't have anybody except the managers who actually know that. Unless I'm mistaken, I think that is true. That's because Charles wasn't here. I didn't play that one year.
And then as Charles recovers, based on the minutes that you saw from your bench late in the first half against Michigan State,
Yeah.
Did that kind of show some promise as you might need to lean on those guys a little more with up to 3 games in 3 days?
I wouldn't say promise would be the appropriate word. I would say more concern would be the appropriate word. That we have to, those guys learned a lot in that game, and they got to get better. If we go to that bench and Charles isn't there, we got to have a better play off the bench, especially on defense. And offense, shot selection, the whole deal.
Go ahead, Chris.
Couple things, Charles' status and the fact that he didn't make all Big Ten defensive team again.
Yeah, that was a bit of that was surprising, but that's always been a great motivating factor for everybody. So people are watching a different game than I'm watching, obviously, with Charles. I mean, just he's had some rough offensive moments. The guy has never had a bad defensive game, and he's taking care of everybody. So how many people were on that team? Five. If he's not one of the 5 best, then there must be besides David, there must be 4 really good defenders out there. That's all I can say.
And then what's his status for the weekend?
He practiced yesterday, and he went the full practice. So we'll wait and see what he can do today.
And then were there similarities?
Not certainly at 100%, but he was able to. He hasn't been able to go to full practice yet.
Okay. And then were there similarities that you saw on film between the 2 losses to Michigan State?
Yeah, obviously there's going to be some. There's going to be some, but the big issue was when things start going south offensively for us. That's when our defense goes south immediately, and that's a sign of a lot of young teams, right? And we just showed that. You know, we got caught a couple of times with freshmen and sophomores in rotations that they're both playing hard, but they're both running at the same guy and leaving some people open. It happened like 3 straight times. They're playing so hard. They're trying so hard for Michigan, but they don't say, I got them, and they both got them, and then going to stand there looking at a 3. Or McQuaid's missing one, and they're going in and getting the rebound because somebody's wide open, right? Or McQuaid's got a wide open 3. So it's just communication that just happens. And you know why it happened this time of the year, but it happens with young teams, young players.
Over here with Andrew.
Even after the last regular season game of the season, you're talking about if we learn from this, it's a good thing. I guess, you know, at what point in the season, if ever, is it like, okay, these mistakes need to be fixed now, or you know, there's just not much time left? Do you ever have that message to players? Like, you know,
Of course. And then that's part of life, that you learn it. If you don't learn it, you live with it, and then hopefully the following year those same mistakes aren't being made, because we don't have a film session coming up after the last game. There's not a film session, so they don't have to listen to it anymore. But many times that the next year that will come out big time for you. But there's some things that they're not intentionally not making mistakes. Their minds have to think quicker. And if they're not capable of thinking quicker, no matter how many drills that you do, they're not going to do it. You know, they're just not going to do it. And so there is going to be a time. I can tell you the guys that you thought they have no chance, right? Did anybody think at the end of freshman year Xavier Simpson would be first team All Big Ten? And right? Did anybody ever dream of that? There's a time it all slows down and they get it, and it's not coaching. It's not technique, it's not film study, it just takes time, some players more than others. So you're always warning them that, they won't like the feeling, but sometimes maybe thinking about it for 8 months afterwards, then they might get a little bit more.
Thanks.
John, somewhat along those lines, what do you need from Jordan right now to unlock something for your offense?
Yeah, well, you're talking offense. Yeah, I think I've seen some really good improvements in his shot selection. Compared to some of the times earlier in his career, and I think his defense has been more consistent in some pretty good games. He's done some really good. I thought he did a great job on McQuaid at times the other day. Right, he did a great job on the kid from the shooter capture. I always forget his name. Minnesota kid. Gauscher. Yeah, he did a great job on him. And so there's those moments. I think one of the biggest issues right now is logging so many minutes. It gets in his way a little bit. It affects his defense and it affects his offense as well. And we're trying to cut that down, but when we're down Charles and then you're in foul trouble, it's hard to keep him off the floor.
Do you feel like with his sort of unique skill set though offensively, he can really, if he maybe pressure or whatever it is,
No, there's no question. I mean, his pick and roll numbers in our team are very good. In fact, our pick and roll numbers are really, really good, really good. But the other things, he's a better shooter than 32 or 33%. So that shot selection sometimes people keen on him. So he's going to have to really become really adept at Matt McQuaid does a tremendous job of deception to get open. JP's got to do better at tricking people to get open, right? And so that comes with fourth-year player, second-year player. That comes with time. The coaches aren't going to call play to get you open. You got to execute that play by being deceptive.
Is it a little bit like Tim's sophomore year, or when he had
Yeah.
early, or is it different?
Yeah, no, it would, Tim could really get his shot even better than JP could. And he didn't have to go step back, he could just rise over you. And so, but Tim gradually, the game slowed down in that junior year where his numbers had gone down. Of course, he was playing next to Trey Burke, which is a lot like playing next to Xavier. But Tim really slowed down, and he did more by doing less.
Over here with John.
If Charles is able to go, and I don't know if you know how much time he'll be able, but what adjustments do you have to make? Sort of
Well, first of all, we start him. That would be the first question, right? And who are we playing? How do they play, right? What's the matchup like? So we still got to go through that. And how was he in practice the last couple of days? And then what's his role coming off the bench? And how does he even give JP more rest? Can we find a way just to get him in there? Because we virtually had one real experienced player on the court the other night against Michigan State. I mean, one guy, Xavier. There was nobody out there that really had been in this game for 10 or 20 minutes at a time. They had little cameo performances. He's been in there. So how can we get him on the floor in any way? Because I love what Isaiah gives us, Iggy at the same time, and maybe there's a solution there as well. So we're working at all that stuff, but when you don't know where you're going to play or not, it's hard.
Jacob?
With Cassius having the success he did on Saturday, what have you seen from Xavier just in the aftermath of that? Is there anything?
I don't care if it was a man in the moon. He has a guy score on him like that. He's not happy, right? And we're not happy. But it also, you got to take your hat off and say he's a heck of a player. They got a great plan, right? Yeah, the Michigan State offense has changed dramatically since the injuries. And they're really, their offense is very hard for everybody to guard right now. When you're in a ball screen 3 or 4 times on one time down the court, right? And they got shooters at every position. It's really hard to guard that. And so it's not just Xavier; it's the whole team has to help in that whole situation. And we had sometimes he was perfect on them, but the backside stuff stunk, and that's what cost us many times. But go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, I know it's not just. You said it's not just.
Yeah.
It's not just Xavier, but do you think he takes that personally a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. He's the most personal guy ever. He takes every matchup very personally. That's why it's painful for him. And he will. But guess what? He's going to guard them. He's guarded and will continue to guard the best point guards in the country. And he's had a great success rate on that, over his time at Michigan. So we love that matchup. And if it doesn't work out sometimes, it doesn't work out.
Right.
Over the course of Charles' absence, do you think that the team has unlocked anything with Isaiah?
I think it's really good what Isaiah has given us. I think he's really made some good plays. He's an elite shooter. Where Charles is a good shooter, I think Isaiah's an elite shooter. So it spreads us out a little bit more when people would be gapping off of Charles. So I think that's the good thing. And now I think that we have also learned what Isaiah can do in these situations, so we could dial him up a little bit, or use his matchup a little bit differently. So that's helped us a lot. It's also, we played through Iggy a little bit more during that time, and those games when Charles was up, Iggy had some really good numbers, and so there's a lot of rising in the whole thing that's happened because of the injury, but we want him back badly.
James?
John, just from your experience, I guess, what do you feel like are the ingredients that kind of make a good tournament team?
Luck is a really big ingredient to have right now. That you got to go in there, and sometimes the ref has to be ready to make a foul call, and it's not really a foul call, right? If you remember our Iowa game last year, we had a lot of young guys in the game, and we hung on there and won it luckily, but we were in foul trouble the entire game, and then we were in foul trouble this time against Iowa, And so that has a little bit to do with it. When you go into that arena the first time, right, it's important to those guys to be comfortable to be, and that the coaches are extremely comfortable at that time, that they're not, they're not on edge. I think we have to portray a yes face that we're going to do this, because I don't care what tournament game there is, whether it's a 1-8 game or whatever it is going to be great basketball, and whoever plays well in those last 10 minutes probably wins the game. So I wish I could, everybody asks us what's the secret of our success the last 2 years. I have no idea. Plane crash helped, just to loosen everybody up a little bit and go in and play with nothing to lose. But last year I have no explanation for that. I mean, that was an incredible performance, and no, I can't tell you why.
And then with the quick turnarounds that come in tournament time, I guess, how much do you feel like the success is attributed to what you're able to do between games and I guess maximize that time?
Yeah, I think it's a tough prep both for everybody, and because I think we probably, my assistants tell us that we do more prep before games than anybody. I think we're maybe in tune to that without any time in between. Hopefully that helps, but I'm just going off what they say. So that is, and the way we play, I think at this time we can morph into different offenses depending on how people are playing us with the personnel they have. I think we have a good understanding. Well, this team's going to switch, this team's going to ice, this team's going to hard hedge, this team's not as good in transition. I think we can move pretty well with it, and because I think we work on it all year long.
Coach, I think that's going to do it.
Okay, we'll see you all in Chicago.